Hey guys.
Hi everyone.
And action.
So
Okay.
We're here.
And we're here. I'm Olivia.
And I'm Amy.
And this is Girls Gone Spooky.
Welcome
We're
back.
like deep into October now.
Oh my god.
How's it feel?
Feels
How's
good.
it feel?
It feels
great. Real good. Feels fucking great. I will say the weather is finally cooling off in San Francisco and I'm
happy. Mm-hmm.
It was supposed to rain today, but it didn't.
Oh.
So I wonder if it's going to rain on the morrow.
Hopefully.
Yeah, it says tomorrow and Wednesday, 50% chance. But
we need the spooky vibes.
I need the spookies.
Yeah,
I need the spookies.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say spookies. So we're just going to trust that they're coming. Well, speaking of spooky, we have a very spooky topic today.
We sure do.
And
what is it?
Well, it's demons knocking.
Yeah.
Thrice, usually.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, yuck. No, not Dwight. And it's perfect because I'm reading this book called Play Nice by Rachel Harrison that's about a demonic possession in a house. And it is so good. Like, so good. It's way more complicated than that. Honestly, I think you'd like it.
Okay.
Like, it's spooky, but I think you'd like it. Play Nice. Yeah, it's very fun. And I think it just came out this year. So it's like a long wait for it at the library, but if you get it on Kindle or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Do you have Kindle Unlimited?
I periodically get I've had the free trial and then sometimes they send me try it again for free.
Oh, interesting.
So I do that, but
Oh, that's smart. I don't even think I've used the free trial yet.
Oh. I mean, it is nice. Is it on Kindle Unlimited? Maybe I'd get it.
It might
back.
be.
Okay.
Might be. I'm not 100% sure. But I was thinking it's the kind of book that would be on there, I feel.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So.
I see that you're currently reading it.
I am currently reading it.
It's kind of interesting.
About 75% of the way through.
Okay, wow. I keep tabs on you on multiple apps.
Good. Stalk me everywhere. Okay, so Demons Knocking. Should we get into it?
Yes.
Okay, so our episode is called Knock Knock. And
Who's
it's
there?
A demon. Spoiler alert.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Who's there? Demon.
Demon.
Okay, and I figured we would just open. I just have stories today. It's just straight up.
Basically,
Wham bam, thank you, ma'am. Stories, scary stories, but real ones. I mean, they're usually real, not always, but usually real. Okay, so I figured we would just do a quick why is knocking associated with demons? So demons. So this is the AI overview. Demons knocking refers to a spiritual concept found in religious and paranormal contexts, describing a spiritual attack, a form of communication by demonic entities, or sign of demonic activity. It is often interpreted as the demonic trying to gain entry or influence into a person's life. In a Christian context, the inability of demons to enter a true believer's home is explained by the Holy Spirit's indwelling presence. While in paranormal investigations, knocking is seen as a communication method, with repeated knocks, especially in threes, potentially mocking the Holy Trinity. And I think that does a pretty good job of summarizing it. The one thing, it's a spiritual attack, typically, it's a sign of demonic presence. It's symbolic in that knocking is a representation of an attempt to enter or control or assert influence. The thing that I thought was interesting is this idea about entry. So that by knocking back, you're answering the question.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's something to keep in mind. In a paranormal, investigative context, it is seen as a communication method. So it is a way that sometimes investigators will also try and engage with spirits, which, like, shout out Zach Bagans, like, always disrespecting demons, I swear to God.
Yeah.
And also as an investigative tool. So investigators may try to elicit a specific knocking pattern to determine a response from a spirit or an entity, sometimes using things like Ouija boards as other devices. So all of these things are like, maybe don't. That's the vibe I get.
Yeah.
And even the AI knows it's like practical applications. Resist temptation and create a sanctuary. When hearing demons knocking, individuals are encouraged to stand firm in their faith, resist temptation and distraction, prioritize spiritual well-being, and do not knock back. Creating a sanctuary. In some beliefs, a house can be turned into a sanctuary by inviting God or angels to reside there, preventing evil spirits from, quote unquote, hanging out.
Wow,
Thanks.
this is all from Google AI.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
so funny.
So
Wow.
funny. Okay, so now we're gonna get right into it.
Okay.
So, couple quickies. This one is from Miss Jellybean. And she says, "Can someone give me an explanation for the 3 knocks I heard on my bedroom door? I, 25 female, live alone in a 1-bedroom flat. My bedroom is on the top floor, kitchen and living room and bathroom are down a flight of stairs, and the front door is down another flight of stairs. A couple months ago, I woke up, went on my phone for a bit, and then decided to get up. But before I moved to get up, I heard 3 distinct, clear knocks on my closed bedroom door. I remembered that the estate agent said that I was due to have an inspection soon and assumed it was them. I couldn't be bothered to deal with them and found it weird that they just let themselves in without ringing or anything, so I pretended to be asleep and didn't respond. I waited, no more knocks, but I also didn't hear anyone walking away down the stairs and didn't hear anyone entering or leaving my flat. As I was lying there waiting for them to leave, I realized that I had locked myself out several months ago and had to have the lock replaced and hadn't gotten around to taking a set of the new keys to the estate agents. I was obviously very freaked out at this point, and I forced myself to get up after a while. I really needed to pee, and I checked, and no one else was in my flat. I've asked friends and family, and they were all as freaked out and confused as I was. Has anyone had anything like this happen or have any explanations? Because I'm stumped." So then FRS Rudy says, "Okay, reading this and the comments has me freaked out. A couple years ago, I was in college in my girlfriend's room. We were arguing late night about something stupid, just the 2 of us. We heard a loud knock banging 3 times on her bedroom door. I went to see who it was and no one was there. I looked at her confused and she gave me the same look in return. We forgot about it when 3 months later, the exact same thing happened. Later in the evening, we were arguing and 3 loud knocks on her bedroom door. Again, I went to see. Opened it and no one was there. However, this time her roommate was home and walked into the common room and asked, 'Did you just knock on your door?' So this time she heard it as well. I didn't think much of it until 3 years later, back in September. I was in my hotel room during a work trip. I had been out that night and came back with a nice girl I met. It was around 3 a.m. and it was clear no one was awake in the hall of the hotel we were in. We had just begun to fool around and bam, 3 loud-ass knocks on the door. Scared the shit out of us both. This time, I wasn't going to open the door no matter what. Anyway, this has happened to me 3 different times so far in similar circumstances each time. Crazy to see others with similar experiences." So that freaks me out because I feel like for this person, it's like following them specifically. And there are so many stories like that where it's like they haven't had any experience with hauntings or demonic anything, at least nothing that they've been like aware of. And it's just knocking. And it's really weird to think that that could be how an entire like horror shit show starts.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like it's knocking. It's like, okay, I've arrived. Can I come in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then if you knock back, it's kind of an invitation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. This next one is from Strange Hour 3826. They say 3 knocks on the wall for years. I grew up in a neighborhood and even went to elementary school that was built on top of a cemetery about 30 or 40 years ago. When the city expanded, my grandparents moved here. Most of the bodies were supposed to be relocated. Some were cremated and sent to the local church, but clearly not everybody was. When I was a kid, maybe 15 or 20 years ago, I started noticing something strange in our house. 3 knocks on the wall, always the same rhythm. Knock, knock, knock. It happened in the day sometimes, but mostly at night. Never super loud, just distinct. This went on for years. I got so used to it that I honestly stopped even really thinking about it much. And then the area got redeveloped. Streets widened, houses rebuilt, and after that, the knocking just stopped. Fast forward a few years and I watched The Conjuring with my cousin. When they mentioned 3 knocks being tied to something paranormal, it sent a chill down my spine. I later asked my mom about it, and she told me that when our house was rebuilt, the workers actually found 2 skeletons that had been left behind from the cemetery. No one knew who they were, so they were removed, and ever since then, the knocks never came back. I'm not saying I know what it was, but the timing feels too connected to ignore.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that
Wow.
weird?
That would be so weird.
So fucking weird.
They just
Okay.
wanted to be moved, I guess.
Right. Like, take us elsewhere, please.
Wow.
So, okay, I have a couple more. This one's a little bit longer. This is from Raised by Spirits. Nice. Haunted by a demon for 15 years, answering all your questions and giving advice.
Oh my God.
That's the title.
15
years.
Oh, no.
Yeah. It's like half our lifetime.
Yeah.
Okay. I've commented on a lot of posts about my experiences, and every time there are a few people messaging me wanting to talk about it or ask me things. Somehow they never end up responding again, but I thought I would just make an official post about my experiences and share some of the knowledge that I've gathered over the years. So it all started when me and my brother and father moved into a house. It was a 3-story house with 2 apartments on each floor. The house was over 100 years old, but was well renovated, and right across the street was my NEE school. I don't know what that is, but probably something in the UK or something. We were surrounded by a lovely park, and all in all, it was an amazing place to grow up. I was 5 or maybe 6 at the time. Back then, I used to notice a lot of shadows in the corner of my eye. This went on for probably 10 years without me realizing that it is, in fact, not a normal eye thing. When I was young, I was extremely afraid of the dark, and for some reason, I always thought that Batman was going to stand there when I opened my eyes and kill me, thinking that Batman was a very tall black figure, which is going to be important later on. I've always been extremely sensitive to energy around me and the paranormal, so my guess is that I already kind of sensed this thing's presence, but I didn't realize what it was yet. I was also dealing with depression and insomnia ever since I was very young due to some bad family stuff, but that's also relevant. When I got older, about 12, my mental issues started to worsen drastically, and I started, trigger warning here, self-harm. I started to cut myself and stuff like that. My insomnia was pretty bad, and after I finished with high school at 15, my sleep cycle... Wow, you finished high school at 16?
Oh,
or 15? 16. No, 15. And you said 15.
Genius.
That's young.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what?
Doogie, whatever. Doogie
yeah.
Howser.
Yeah, Doogie Howser.
Mm-hmm.
My sleep cycle was fucked beyond repair, so I usually would be awake all night and sleep during the day, or not at all. I was constantly sleep deprived, and weird stuff started to happen. Objects would disappear and reappear after months. Stuff would randomly fall off shelves, harmless stuff like that, but I noticed it, and it was odd. I started hearing voices yelling or whispering my name, and it was always the voice of my dad or my brother most of the time, but then I would realize that either they weren't home or they were asleep. It got worse fast. It was a long time ago, and I can't remember in what order things happened, but there were multiple auditory things going on. There was gurgling, like someone was being choked to death in the middle of our living room. Strange music waking me at night coming from the corner of my room to then get more silent and then disappear again, or get quieter and disappear. Knocking on the walls, always 3 times. Horrible demonic screeches, footsteps, mainly coming from the attic, which was right above our apartment. Sometimes it sounded like someone was throwing around entire closets up there. Really loud rumbling in the middle of the night. By that time, I already knew my house was haunted, but I didn't know what it was yet. So me and my neighbor and my friend Natasha, which was who was my age and I grew up with, she also had an older brother that was my brother's age called Peter, started to investigate. We realized that she and her brother Peter have been bothered by the entity before I had, and they had a guest room that was mainly where it stayed at first. Ever since I lived there, I could not enter the room because the presence was so overwhelmingly evil, almost like the air was crushing you. That same feeling I got after it started and had it for 24/7 for about a year. The feeling as if someone is standing right behind you holding a knife at your back, just very, very uneasy. So I tried to communicate with it and gave it lots of attention, thinking that it was a ghost, which was my biggest mistake. Things got worse quickly, and it had clearly completely attached to me because I was the perfect victim and a buffet of negative emotions, which I later learned was the main energy source to make them stronger. So that one night, I looked at the shadow in the corner of my eyes and saw a black silhouette of a cat jump off my bed, disappear midair, or rather evaporate like smoke. I jumped around because I sensed someone standing behind me, and there it was in full form. It was what many people call a shadow person or hat man. I'm sure there are other terms, but I later learned that these shadowy figures are demons, and they can appear in various forms, often with glowing eyes or a hat. Mine was blank, no face, no hands, no feet, not even really a head, but it was about 2 meters tall and filled up the room with dark, smoky shadow and felt as though it was staring into my soul with its non-existent eyes. I froze in shock, but as fast as it appeared before me, it disappeared again. And after that, things got really bad because I began to actually research and started to understand what I was dealing with. I became obsessed. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. This was all I care about. And I felt like he started to play mind games at that point, which was probably the peak of this haunting. Due to my depression and suicidal tendencies, I welcomed darkness and wasn't scared of many things. After that night, I almost started to cry when the lights were out, or only half on. He knew that and used it against me, shattering a light bulb in our apartment every 2 days or so. We were pretty poor, so we wouldn't always get a new one immediately, and since I was awake at night, I had to deal with it, and he was active during the day too, but when the clock hit 2 to 4 a.m., it was the worst. One time, I walked into the kitchen, and before I could turn on the lights, I stood on something weird. I turned on the lights to find the floor crawling with maggots. Every inch was covered in them. I was shocked, grossed out, and panicked, trying to shovel them up and put them in the trash, basically crying throughout the entire thing. Somehow they were light, flighty, and disappeared into the walls after a few minutes. There weren't any cracks in the walls, though, which added to my confusion. So it's almost like he hallucinated them. One time, I spoke to it all day, just speaking into the air, but I felt its presence there and hoped it would let me sleep late at night. I remember saying something like, I gave you attention all day now and would appreciate it if you let me sleep. The energy in the room suddenly got really oppressive and aggressive, and I felt something choking me for a few minutes. That was the one and only physical attack that I experienced. They generally don't want to physically harm us because it would be counterproductive. They will, however, do it if it helps their grand plan to sort of break you down. Basically, I was an exhausted wreck because I spent my nights literally fighting off a demon. I knew I needed help and registered in a paranormal forum where there was a guy who ended up helping me a couple times. He was magically talented and was able to astral project. Back then, he strongly weakened the demon, and it actually stopped for a few years. Every now and then, little things would happen, but nothing that made me worry. He still followed me everywhere and had a strong negative impact on my emotions and overall well-being, so much that, again, big trigger warning here, he drove me to try and commit suicide at the age of 16. There were other reasons that contributed to it, but I strongly believe that he was to blame for the most part. The whole experience was extremely traumatizing, like living in a horror movie. Besides, my friends that lived in the house know that no one believed me. My dad didn't take it serious, and my brother knew stuff was going on, but he was scared, so he decided to ignore it and leave me alone with it. There were so many things that happened, but I can't possibly write them all down here. I saw some apparitions over the years or heard weird stuff, but overall, it left me alone. Not sure if he was waiting for the right time again or if he was too weak. This was after all of these other events. After my attempt, I went to a clinic and met my future best friend. We started to communicate with the demon over a Ouija board, but there honestly wasn't really much useful that came from that. I learned that they just sort of tell you what you want to hear and that you can basically not believe a single word that they say. I developed some kind of fucked up mental connection with him, though. About 2 years ago, he became active again. I went to bed at night and my boyfriend was already laying there, put out all the lights, and closed my eyes. I opened them again and noticed that there was a light in the living room. As I looked, the light turned off. He waited until I looked. These light plays were what he used to do years ago, too, and while this might seem harmless, I knew, okay, it's starting again. And I was so scared that my body was shaking violently for hours and my boyfriend had to calm me down. I contacted my friend who'd helped me years ago and spent a couple months developing a plan to trap the demon in an object. It's literally like out of a horror movie.
Yeah, it is.
My friend ended up going behind my back and doing something far more risky, but it worked, and the demon is gone for good. At least, I think he is, because the connection is severed and I don't feel him anymore, but I'll know if that's right in a few years. Since there are so many people dealing with demons, I will add 3 major signs that what you're dealing with is, in fact, a demon. 1. Shadows in the corner of your eye or black apparitions. This also includes the famous sleep paralysis figures. 2. Knocking 3 times. 3. Extreme tense energy in the room, like the air is going to crush you, and a strong feeling of being watched. Other signs that might occur more frequently than usual. 1. Very negative thoughts. 2. Nightmares. 3. Sleep paralysis. Also, if you deal with mental illness like depression or something similar, it's more likely that you're being haunted by a demon or to attract one and get an attachment like I did. If you experience any of the things I mentioned, do not engage. Just ignore it, pretend you don't notice it, and try not to be scared. If that doesn't work, let it know that this is your space and that only light beings are allowed to come near you and things like that. Basically telling it that it's not welcome and has no power over you, but try and stay respectful. Best to not give it any sort of attention whatsoever, because if you're in, you're in. There's really no way out unless you've got a person like I did, which is kind of unlikely, I would assume. And I was lucky that he contacted and helped me. I might also mention that I did get tested for schizophrenia and psychosis and had and have none of that. And the psychiatrists were kind of speechless about what I told them. Happy to answer all your questions and to help anyone out. I spent years learning about demonology and have a very good sense now of how they behave, what their goal is, etc.
Wow.
Yeah.
That poor person.
I know. My God.
I wonder if they
And
ever
then
found out who the demon was.
I have no idea. I have no idea. Yeah, there are 2 other like comments on this one that I'll read. This is from a deleted user. A demon attached itself to me once, actually many, I think. It was from an ex who was obsessed with paranormal stuff.
Uh-oh.
But then they say, like an unhealthy obsession. It affected me for months. Nightmares, sleep paralysis, scratches on my arm, weird behavior like wanting to laugh at things that were meant to be sad or serious, the feeling of being constantly watched, all the quote-unquote typical stuff. As a warning, I'm going to talk a little about exorcism type things, which can be triggering for some people. On Christmas Eve, my family was doing prayer and I didn't want to pray. I suddenly felt very scared, like I had to run for my life. I got sick to my stomach and my stepmom said I looked pale as a ghost and like I was going to be sick. She asked if I was okay and I said no. I started sweating profusely and shaking and again was just so nauseous and scared. My heart was racing. I was lightheaded. My stepfather, who's a preacher, put his hand on my head and started praying. He could tell that something was wrong, and then all of a sudden, it was like I could see everything normally, but I couldn't talk or control my body. I could just hear and see what was happening. I made sounds that I didn't think I could physically make, spoke a language that I've never heard in my life. I was laughing and screeching for absolutely no reason. I remember even spitting on him and watching my arms swing around in front of me. I ended up blacking out after that, and when it was all over, I saw it. And it was so ugly, but it also looked like it wanted pity. Anyway, it was super black, so black that it looked like it was like looking into a void. Its eyes were huge and glowing red, like two red flashlights, and it had spikes on its head, almost like Batman's helmet. Nothing else, no defining features, just small and in the fetal position, like it was feeling sorry for itself. I honestly almost had PTSD from this event. I felt like I got hit by the plague the next day. My whole body ached and I was so sore, like I'd done a really intense full body workout. I really wish I could figure out some scientific explanation as to what I experienced, but I have no idea. It never happened again. That was years ago, and now I have the power of God and anime on my side. But seriously, don't fuck with demons. They're real, and I was honestly skeptical until it happened to me. Always talk to God, never show fear to the enemy, have that no bullshit attitude of if you suspect weird stuff is going on in your house. You are above them, they are below you.
It's good advice at the end, but wow.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Hate that.
Yeah, no. Not good.
Um, no, not good. And then I have one last one. This is another shorter one.
Okay.
This is from Electrical Ground 3278. Of all the things I've read on here, this is by far the closest to my experiences over the years. Shadowy figure, check. Only mine had orange eyes and sharp teeth. Feeling intense tension, terror, check. Infestation, flies and crows, mostly in my case, but maggots too. Check. Indescribable, horrifying demonic noises, voice mimicry, pets going nuts, doors slamming, thumping footsteps as if a giant were walking through your house, empty rooms being locked from the inside, candles floating through the dark, objects being interfered with. For example, it once answered my phone when my girlfriend called me and told her to kill herself using some version of my voice.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Multiple witnesses on multiple occasions in a house that's at least 200 years old. The same sleep paralysis occurrence a few times a night, every night for a few days at a time, and then a few years of quiet, and then back to it, despite me moving house. Physical attacks in the form of choking and deep scratches. I used to get them every week or so. My old ones barely healed, and new ones would show up overnight, mostly on my back, but not restricted to. My legs literally refusing to move when I wanted to go to a room that I knew he was in. I asked my friends to push me because my body refused to move, even though I wanted to go. I'd say, I know how you feel, but only you know how you feel. And the truth is, I've learned to live with mine when I was still pretty young. My family was aware of it and very supportive, so it hasn't driven me into despair. I know he's still around, but my life is great and mentally I'm in good shape, so it's getting nothing from me. I used to be terrified, but then I became almost excited whenever something strange happened, if that made sense. I started chasing paranormal experiences, and he gave me that. Once the fear went away, he pretty much went away. The presence that once used to feel all-powerful, crushing, now feels frail, kind of like an old man. And even during sleep paralysis, when it talks to me, it feels sort of calm as opposed to aggressive like it was at first. I say feels because other than the first few times as a kid, I can't really remember what he's saying. All I remember is how it makes me feel. I hope yours doesn't return, but more than that, I hope you can find happiness, for lack of a better term. Being miserable is like giving yourself to them voluntarily, and given your depression, I'm not surprised it became so powerful. I really hope you're all right now and that you're not pushed back into it. It's great of you to try and help others. This is a real problem, and I know a number of people who've been terrorized by these things. They don't teach you about this in schools, and if your friends and family don't believe you, it can be a complete isolating nightmare. Just to end it, I've tested for mental illnesses and don't have anything other than ADHD. Not that it matters, since I've had dozens of people see or hear what I've seen and heard. So I've always known I wasn't crazy. Great read. Thanks for opening up.
Wow. That
like
is
so
strange when you have multiple friends who have had something else going on also. That's
I know.
Weird.
So
What's
weird.
going on with you guys?
Yeah. There was someone, Kent Great, was saying that I've been trying to understand the capabilities of paranormal entities and, you know, what all of these people have recounted essentially in the OP's story, but then all the comments too is like confirming that this is within their like capabilities. Like feeding on your energy, getting more powerful, being physical, all of those things. Um, and it's interesting because we've talked a little bit about like demons are so scary, but like they don't seem to really like hurt people, like kill them. Like they physically can harm them, but like it doesn't seem like a way that people die. But what this person is saying is like, I always tell people that demons and ghosts can't kill people, but they can influence them to do it to themselves.
Yeah.
So it's just like, and I think this original poster, like obviously having a, the mental state that he was in was not great. But then he makes an assessment that was like, from your explanation, I think that you were dealing with some kind of a lesser demon, mainly one that harasses rather than sweet talks. And he said that there was one time that I have spoken to a lesser demon, and it always referred to itself as we, claiming it was made up of multiple entities, like hundreds. Yeah, and anyway, he said it was just like crazy, but I think that this idea that like they are legion, like may actually be true. And that because it's also like, oh, well, there's not consistency around like how they appear. Like this one doesn't have eyes, or this one's red, or it's orange, or it's spikes, or whatever, but that they're different demons or potentially multiple altogether. And I think we talked about this too, the idea that demons can actually be multiple places at once.
Yes.
In the way that like ghosts can't be. So anyway,
still
very disturbing. Way worse. So yeah. Those are my stories.
Wow. More good ones.
Eek.
Very scary. And I have
very
some
scary. Excellent. Hit me.
So I actually wanted to start because when I was doing my research for today, I came across a lot of like the stories we've covered in the past. And it was just interesting to me that a lot of these like heavy hitters, for lack of a better word, they kicked off with knocking. So I'm going to mention just a few of them. This is obviously not comprehensive, but like first, the Bell Witch story. That started with knocking coming from underneath the floorboards.
That's right.
And that knocking like persisted all over the house for days until that story came to a head with the death of John Bell, the dad of the family.
That's right.
Then also the Amityville house. That story also started with persistent, unexplained knocking, particularly at night, and more specifically at 3:15 in the morning, which is when the murders of the DeFeo family, they thought, happened in that house. And then another one was the Amherst poltergeist, which we talked about way back in episode 33. That also started with knocking. And because it was so long ago, I just copied the intro from the Wikipedia page for what that story was, because I had forgotten how insane this is. So it says, there were knockings, bangings, and rustlings in the night, and Esther, who is the person that was most affected by this poltergeist, began to suffer seizures in which her body visibly swelled, and she was feverish and chilled in turns.
Jesus.
Yeah. Then objects in the house took flight. The frightened family called in a doctor. During his visit, bedclothes moved of their own accord, scratching noises were heard, and the words, "Esther Cox, you are mine to kill," appeared.
Oh my God. Wow, I forgot about this.
Same. That's why I wanted to include it, because I was like,
yeah, what the
I didn't remember that detail. That is so scary. And that appeared on the wall above her bed. Then,
Jesus.
Yeah, the following day, the doctor gave her sedatives to try to calm her and help her sleep, but that just made more knocking and more flying objects manifested themselves. So that's scary. And then, also slightly different, but most Black-Eyed Kids stories start with a knock on the door.
So that's true. Ooh, that gave me chills. Fuck.
I know. Isn't that weird? I was just like, I think that there's probably even more of the big stories that we've covered that had
Yeah.
knocking in the house
I mean,
too.
I feel like that just like validates the theory that it really is
Yes.
like the beginning of
Yes.
activity.
That I'm coming in. So,
Oh,
yeah.
that like kind of makes my stomach hurt.
hmm I feel kind of ill
Yeah.
reading these stories because,
Ugh.
and
It's
how
just
many people,
horrifying, like how scared you would be.
right, so scared.
Ugh.
And it seems to affect more people than I would have thought because
Well,
so many
right.
people post on Reddit
I
saying that
know.
they've had this experience, etc. So,
Etc.
anyway, now I have some stories as well. So, there was a post on the paranormal subreddit from user called Alternative I 2799, and they just asked, "What does three knocks mean?" And their wording in the original post was really confusing, but it sounded like they had an experience with knocking coming from the upstairs of their house, and they wanted to hear if others had similar experiences and or information on what it means when you hear that in your house.
Hmm.
And there were a lot of comments on the post, but the one in particular that had like the most upvotes and whatever it is on Reddit attention was from a user called Tarantina Turner. And her comment on that post said, "I've had some experiences with some sort of dark entity when I was a teenager, which began for me with hearing three knocks in my ex boyfriend's bedroom. I didn't know what to make of it the first few instances, and I knocked back, which caused it to retort, each time on a different
Girl.
wall, and always with three knocks. I thought it was funny at first, and I didn't believe it was anything harmful. I even showed my ex and his parents and got a reply every time. So, like, they were all in there
What?
knocking together, which is scary.
So not a brain cell in the room, okay?
No. And she says, "I believe that whatever it was took my knocking back as an invitation because I had a few more personal experiences that escalated all the way to a physical embodiment of what I could only describe as pure seething rage."
Oh, God.
I know.
Oh my God.
She
Having like a
says,
visceral
I
reaction.
know. Yeah. She says, "I'm still not sure if it was a demonic presence so much as some sort of manifestation of trapped negative energy. Either way, it was definitely not warm and welcoming, and it's something I've never forgotten." I'm gonna say maybe both. It could be a demon and
Yeah.
also that was invited because of the trapped negative energy. But
Jesus.
um, obviously, a lot of people replied to that and were like, please expand. Like, what are you talking about? So she made a full post with her full story. So she writes, "There were some replies left on a comment I made on a previous post asking for the rest of the story. This happened over the course of about a year. For some backstory, I moved in with my ex boyfriend at his parents' house when we were 17. I'd known him since kindergarten and was aware that he had night terrors for at least 5 years. I believe they may have gone on for as long as they lived in that house, though I'm not sure how old he was when they moved in. I didn't know much about night terrors and didn't know anyone else who had them. He didn't want to talk about it, so I never pressed. When I noticed him having one, I just saw how he would breathe heavily a few seconds to minutes and wake up in a bad mood. I would describe the mood as withdrawn and irritable, and it would take a few minutes to level out in order to be approachable. The night terrors caused him to have severe insomnia, and he would only sleep very few hours over the course of days. I had been living there for a few months and never had any feelings of unease, which is very odd since I'm usually sensitive to energy shifts from previous experiences in my life. Some days I would wake up and go into the kitchen to see open cabinets or drawers. I thought nothing of it and figured someone left them open after a midnight snack. Until one morning, I jokingly mentioned how someone keeps forgetting to close the cabinets to his mom, and she replied, "Yeah, that's just the shadow people."
Ugh.
So that's why they're all together knocking and not not thinking about it. Yeah, they said, as if it was something she just casually forgot to mention, they do that all the time. Followed by telling me that she and her husband both have seen them in different areas of the house on multiple occasions. But since I hadn't experienced anything there myself, I just laughed it off. At this time, our bed was against the inside wall of the house beside the door from the hallway. My ex liked to play a joke on me when I would leave the room, where he would reach over to hold the door handle so it wouldn't turn when I would try to get in.
That's so mean.
I know. Harmless fun, they say, no big deal.
God.
And we both thought it was funny. One bright weekend, I thought it would be good to do some spring cleaning and rearrange the furniture. I opened the windows to let in some cool breeze, cleaned the carpet, pushed the bed against the outside wall next to a window, and pulled the TV stand to the foot of the bed. After my ex came home, we ate and took turns having showers. When I went to open the door to the bedroom, the handle didn't turn. I chuckled since I was used to him playing that game. Only this time, when I went to turn the handle again, it still didn't budge. I thought he's probably wanting to play a little more than usual, so I tried twisting the handle back and forth multiple times, but it stayed stationary. When the latch finally released, I pushed the door open with such force that I stumbled into the room, only to see my ex playing Xbox with his headset on, sitting 15 feet away from the door, and wondering why it looked like I just fell in. This was the first time I felt like something could be in the house.
Oh, God, and it was like in there with him.
Yeah, just hanging out and blocking him in, which is so
Yikes.
scary. It was fall when the knocks first started. We'd been having some strong winds accompanied with cold rain. There was only one other house that shared the dead-end road to the top of the hill where we lived. It was late in the evening. The rain knocked the satellite out, so we got some DVDs and put on a movie. We both heard scratches on the walls from the shrubs and tree leaves hitting the siding and windows. Then 3 faint knocks came from the wall to the right of the bed. This was an exterior wall at the front of the house, so we decided it was just the wind. Some minutes passed when we heard 3 more knocks come from the wall next to the closet, an interior wall with a large shared dresser along it. We decided to recreate the sound by knocking on the wall behind us just to confirm the noise we heard. Less than a minute later, 3 clear knocks came from the wall directly behind us. We knocked 3 times back, then the knocks started coming from what seemed like all of the walls at once.
Oh, fuck that.
No. They were much faster and louder this time and seemed to have no pattern as to where they were coming from other than their ternary nature. I don't know what that word means.
I don't either.
Like
but
coming
everywhere?
in threes, maybe? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just as fast as they came, it all stopped at once. We told his parents, who came into the room and knocked thrice on the wall, and got the response echoed back. Back to the night terrors. Since I'd figured out when he was having an episode, I began waking up to his heavy breathing and twitching. I would calmly try to soothe him with a quiet voice, tell him it's okay and that I was there. He told me that it helped, so I decided to pry a little. I asked him what it was like, and he only told me that the things he used to see were always different when he was younger, but more recently, there was one that was recurring regularly. He couldn't describe what it looked like, just that it got closer to him every night, and he was afraid of what would happen if it got close enough to touch him.
No!
This poor guy.
I know.
He woke up once and told me that it had laid down next to him. So it's right there now. And he was completely distraught because it was the closest it ever came.
Also, isn't she laying right next to him?
Yes. But he said it couldn't touch him when I'm around because it's afraid of you. So as in afraid of the narrator.
Oh.
I didn't know what he meant by that, but I told him that it should be. So
maybe she believes in Jeebus.
Mm-hmm. We'll get there.
Okay.
That's when I began to notice movement. It started with dresser drawers being open in the mornings or after we left the room. I thought maybe the dresser slides were just wearing out from use and were just popping open, but it was almost always a different drawer. If I noticed 3 drawers open in the morning, I would just close them and go on about my day, yet different ones than before would be pulled open when I came back. Sometimes they were slightly cracked, and others were pulled all the way to the end. A few times we caught them opening after we closed them, and tried every way we could think of for the possibility that they weren't being closed correctly in the first place, causing them to roll back open.
See.
Then, one time when my ex was napping, the drawers started to open. I noticed his heavy breathing and panicked REM state, so I tried soothing him with my voice, which seemed to calm him down. But then I noticed an empty pop can by the TV stand starting to rock side to side. It started slowly at first, then began to move so fast it was like it was vibrating. As it was getting worse, so was his breathing. So I looked at it and I shouted in my mind for it to stop. As soon as I thought it, the can stopped moving and his breathing went back to normal.
What the fuck? Okay, she's a witch.
Yeah, apparently.
She's a Bible-thumping witch.
Yes. I used to be a regular lucid dreamer, but have never had sleep paralysis or any sort of experience like this one. The same night as the wobbly can, I was sleeping, curled up on my side and facing down toward the bedroom door when I saw the entity. It stood in the doorway, taller than the frame, with a shadow or misty-looking body and a face whiter than anything I'd seen before.
Whoa.
No discernible facial features, just as if the whiteness was light being pulled into or through it, almost like a tunnel. It seemed like I could feel it better than I could see it. It felt like rage. It felt like anger and sadness stronger than I've ever felt in my life. Before I could make sense of what was happening, I felt myself stand directly up out of my body, point at the creature, and yell at the top of my lungs, "I command you in the name of Jesus Christ to leave this house." I looked down and saw my ex sleeping beside me, and as quickly as I'd stood up, I fell straight back into my body and into the most peaceful sleep.
Whoa.
Yeah. When I woke up, my ex was sitting and watching TV. I looked at him and asked what the thing looked like from his sleep paralysis, and he told me he didn't want to talk about it, but he could draw it. He got a notebook and drew exactly what I saw, to the point that I immediately got chills and started crying when he showed it to me. He asked me if I'd seen it. I told him what happened, and neither of us have seen it since.
She got rid of it.
I think she did. I don't know how. I guess invoking Jesus' name worked, but...
The power of Christ compels you.
Yeah.
You know?
Crazy stuff, though.
Holy
like, whoa.
Shit. Like, wow.
Yeah. So, that's all I have for today.
Oh my god. Just so many demons, dude.
I know. They're everywhere.
Holy shit. Okay, well, stay safe out there, kids.
Yeah. I should say they're everywhere except here. And where you are.
No, they're not where we are at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am creeped out. I'm a little creeped out.
Yep,
okay, well, on that note, hope you're not listening to this alone at night.
I know.
Love
Sleep
you.
well.
Sleep well, you little freaks. But actually, we have one more episode before our Halloween scary story episode. Yay.
I can't wait.
Yay. And we're gonna make it extra creepy spooky for you because it's Halloween.
It's our time to shine.
It's our time to shine. Honestly.
It's our element.
Put me on a stage.
Yeah.
Put me on a stage and I will shine.
Yes.
I don't know what's happening to me. I think I'm losing it. So I think we'll sign off here. It's good. It's all good. We love you guys, and we'll see you next week. And until then, stay spooky.
Bye.
Bye.